Hello everyone, how's it going? I am Tirion as always, and I just wanted to bring you a little top 13 video, I suppose. It was originally supposed to be a top 10, but I couldn't figure out a way to keep it 10 without eliminating some pretty big stuff. So I made it a top 13, and this is top 13 my favorite lore moments. Now, Warcraft has obviously a lot of interesting lore stuff, and this is just a completely subjective list of what I personally enjoyed the most. And it's not meant to raise any arguments, it's not meant to annoy anyone, but this is just what I have found to be the most personally enjoyable, or the most significant, or whatever. So without further ado, here it is. Number 13 on my list is the flight of the Draenei from Argus, basically the entire prologue of Rise of the Horde. I personally enjoyed the moment because it highlighted the tragedy of Velen's choice to flee, the tragedy of the Draenei people, and was also a character developing moment for both Velen and for Gul'dan of all people. And also had quite a strong and quite a motivating image, that of the Naru, the very incarnation of light and hope, saving the Draenei at the last moment from the forces of evil. So yeah, the flight of the Draenei from Argus. Number 12 is a moment, well, several moments actually, from the Beyond the Dark Portal novel. Now, for a little bit of context, while the whole action was happening on Draenor, we see several chapters from the point of view of Grom Hellscream and the Warsong clan, who are fighting for the Dark Portal on Azeroth. Alongside Grom is the half-ogre Rexxar. Now, at this point, the orcs had also been feeling sort of betrayed by Ner'zhul and the orcs on Draenor, because at several points they have tried to sort of keep the Warsong from returning to Draenor, and because they're too, troublesome. And one of the moments which highlighted this betrayal was during one of the final battles for the portal, while Rexxar is off killing some humans. One of the warlocks who is along with Grom kills Rexxar's wolf. Now, Rexxar then obviously kills the warlock in return, but this is also the final battle for the portal, when the orcs also realize, hey, Draenor has been destroyed. So now, with the orcs having retreated, Rexxar is the first to leave Grom and the Warsong, and states that he will only trust the beast from now on. And I thought that this was a really powerful moment. It highlighted the betrayal the Warsong clan felt, and it was also a really well written moment. And you can see that this is when Grom started to change from, oh, I'm a bloodthirsty maniac, to, oh, maybe I kinda wish that we had peace again. And it's a big moment for Rexxar, it's a big moment for Grom, and I love it. Yeah. Number 11 might surprise you for a little bit. It's a moment in the novel of Blood and Honor, the moment when Tirion publicly defends Eitrigg. Now, for a little bit of context, this was just before the Third War, when the orcs were sort of freeing themselves from the internment camps. There was this big scare in Lordaeron and the human kingdoms of, oh, the orc boogeyman and all that stuff. And we have Tirion Fordring, who, after he duels the orc Eitrigg and is knocked unconscious, Eitrigg sort of saves his life from a crumbling building, and because of the state Tirion is in, several of the Lordaeron authorities come to investigate. And they find Eitrigg and are ready to execute him, to put him in chains. But Tirion defends him, because Eitrigg saved his life. And it was a big moment because it really highlighted Tyrion's character of one who clings strongly to his sense of honor, no matter if the person who it's directed at is an orc or a human or whatever. And he is also willing to even sacrifice his life of luxury to that end, to uphold his principles. And it's also a pretty big moment for me, because it's one of the examples in Warcraft lore of, hey, there can actually be friendship between the Horde and the Alliance. We also see several fruits of this friendship in World of Warcraft. Horde Death Knights who used to turn in their letters from Tirion Fordring to Thrall got a little PS. Hey Thrall, can you send Eitrigg with me to Northrend? And Eitrigg does join Tirion in Northrend in Zuldrak. So yeah, Tirion and Eitrigg, best friends forever. I hope we see more of them in Legion. Hopefully they won't die. Yeah. Number 10 for me is Medivh's death in The Last Guardian. Now, I chose this moment because it's the pinnacle of in my opinion, one of the greatest novels in Warcraft lore, The Last Guardian, and it also really highlights the tragedy of Medivh's character, of the really powerful mage who was just a tool for the ambitions of Aegwynn and the ambitions of Sargeras, and how he is split between his duties as a guardian, the influence of Aegwynn and the corruption of Sargeras, while Medivh himself is just sort of sidelined in front of these two extremes. And as part of good Medivh's plan, he befriends Lothar, he befriends King Lane, he befriends Khadgar and Garona, and he also has them kill him. And I really love Medivh's last words in regards to this. They're not really anything grandiose, they're not anything like his final Warcraft 3 moments. He just says, "Thank you, I held him off for as long as I could before he finally dies." So yeah, Medivh's death, a really sort of tragic, but sort of good guys winning moment, and I love Medivh. Yeah. Number 9 is kind of an obscure one. It's the Battle of Auchindoun in Beyond the Dark Portal. This moment is pretty interesting for Kilrog's character because it's his death and his duel with Danath Trollbane, but I personally chose it more for the Alliance side. It's a big foreshadowing of the Draenei joining the Alliance. As a bit of an explanation, Danath Trollbane and his part of the Alliance expedition attacks Auchindoun, which is manned by the orcs of Ner'zhul, and they are aided in this quest by the Arakoa Grizzig and by the Draenei priest Nemoran, who summons an army of Draenei spirits to fight alongside the Alliance. I found it to be a great moment also because of this foreshadowing, because I really loved Grizzig and Nemoran's characters, but also because it really highlights what the Alliance is about. It's a coalition that stands against evil. It's really the epitome of the good guys in Warcraft lore. So yeah, the Battle of Auchindoun. Kind of obscure, but also kind of empowering, and yeah. Number 8 is another fairly obscure one. It is Nobundo discovering shamanism. It is part of the Unbroken short story, which is, as I've mentioned before, my all-time favorite short story. As part of it, we see Nobundo lose his connection to the light. We see the other broken turn to despair. We see the Draenei discriminate against them, even though they really should be treated as war heroes. Instead, they're treated like trash. We even see a friend of Nobundo kill herself because of this. And throughout all this, even though Nobundo should really become another one of the lost ones, we see him continue to go out to pray into the light. We see him not lose hope, and at one point, instead of the light answering him, we see the elements answering him. Nobundo then goes and communes with the elements. It restores his confidence and brings him a renewed sense of faith. And then he goes on to teach the other Draenei with the encouragement of Prophet Velen. I thought it was a really powerful moment, a part of a really well-written short story, and it really highlights Nobundo's character. It also highlights how the Draenei, even though they're enlightened, they're all that, they're not by any means perfect people. And here we see one who is perhaps even more perfect, so to say, than Prophet Velen himself, because he has went through He has gone through more hardships than Velen. He has lost the light, but he still finds a way to go on through this new method of shamanism. So yeah, Nobundo rediscovering shamanism, a real powerful moment of a really well written short story. Number 7 is one I'm sure my good friend Dolkwan would appreciate. It is Darion Mograine's sacrifice at the end of the Ashbringer comics. Now, throughout the final part of the comic, we see Darion recover the corrupted Ashbringer and then realize that his father's soul is trapped within it. Then, during a great final battle at Light's Hope Chapel between the Scourge and the Auchindoun, he realizes how an act of love is necessary to save his father's soul. As such, with the final words of "I love you, Dad," he plunges Ashbringer in his own heart, and the act destroys the attacking Scourge and succeeds in freeing his father's soul. And the follow-up with Kel'thuzad resurrecting him and asking him, "Who do you love?" and him answering, "No one," is another really powerful moment. I thought that this incident, so to say, was a great finale to the story of the comic books, and it really highlights the tragedy of the Mograine family with, and I'm including all of the characters here, even Renault, yeah, even that asshole. So yeah, the sacrifice of Darion Mograine, a really powerful moment, and I really recommend the Ashbringer comics to every one of you. Number 6 is one of the great moments of Warcraft's story, the moment when Arthas kills his father. It really remains to this day one of the most chilling and one of the most powerful cinematics in all of Warcraft's history, and it really represents the epitome of Arthas' evil. It is also kind of a disturbing homage to the well-known biblical story of the prodigal son who returns to the family after wasting his money, but instead of the happy ending we see the final betrayal of the son, of Arthas, as he even kills his own father, who was waiting for him with open arms despite all that Arthas had previously done. It remains to this day one of the most powerful and one of the most disturbing moments in Warcraft lore, and I don't think anything more needs to be said. Number 5 is one Necroxus might like. It is the death of Gul'dan on the Broken Isles. Now, throughout the story of both Warcraft 2 and of the novel Tides of Darkness, we grow to despise Gul'dan and really the evil he represents. And really his betrayal of the Horde, which cost him the Second War, is another really fuck that guy moment for any Horde fan. As such, when he meets his end on the Broken Isles, driven mad and torn apart by the very demons he was so enamored with, it really is a gigantic hell yeah moment for anyone who followed the story so far. And it is also a classical end to a really great villain who's really, as with any classical villain, whose very ambitions to prove to be his downfall. Number 4, which could be considered kind of interchangeable with number 6, is Arthas ascending Icecrown and the following inner conflict in Arthas' mind. It really is one of the pinnacles of Arthas' story, and it is overall a really chilling moment as the prince continues on his climb, in spite of the memories he hears trying to convince him to stop. And the following shot of Arthas after he breaks Ner'zhul out, of him wearing the Helm of Domination and sitting on the frozen throne as the sad music plays, is really one of the greatest finales to a game Blizzard has ever made, despite the fact that there are really so few lines of dialogue in that scene, and it really is just a guy sitting on a throne as sad music plays and it zooms out. And the following inner conflict detailed in the novel Arthas Rise of the Lich King between Ner'zhul, evil Arthas, and good Arthas is another really well written part of the story and another part full of symbolism. So yeah, Arthas ascending Icecrown and inner fight. From now on it is down to the top 3. I wonder if you can guess who those 3 will be. I'm pretty sure you won't, but here we go. Number 3 was one I don't think I really expected to put on this list, let alone this high. It is Gul'dan's victory in patch 6.1. Now, Warlords of Draenor obviously had a lot of problems with this story, but this moment to me is one of the greatest moments in Warcraft lore. Aside from the really beautifully done and menacing cinematic, we see the end result of the symbolical struggle, so to say, over the Iron Horde between Garrosh's way and Gul'dan's way, with Garrosh willing to even go back in time and possibly change history in order to avert the orcs drinking the blood of Manoroth, and Gul'dan being the main driving force of what you could call the status quo. The death of Garrosh really shows its impact on Grom in this cinematic and firmly pushes the Iron Horde into Gul'dan's hands, really proving in a way that the more things change, the more they stay the same, perhaps in a very literal sense. Now, I really might be reading too much into it. Warlords of Draenei was obviously a pile of crap really, but this moment in the story is still one of my favorites. Number 2 is another moment from World of Warcraft. It is the Battle of the Wrathgate and the Battle for Undercity. I really thought it was a great twist to the questing story so far of Wrath of the Lich King, since before that we were making almost universal gains against the Scourge, the Alliance and the Horde teamed up with very little comment, and Wrathgate was supposed to be the final assault on the Lich King itself. The betrayal of the Forsaken was, again, a great twist of the story, and I would really consider it to be the 9/11 of Warcraft, so to say. It permanently soured relations between the Horde and the Alliance, which, while obviously not great beforehand, we were still willing to team up with each other, and we had also forgone our differences several times before. After Wrathgate, there were very few instances where the two factions fought together without another third faction, such as the Argent Crusade, keeping them in check. And the following Battle of the Undercity was another great moment, with the Horde facing off against our former allies Varimathras and Putris, and really had Jaina not teleported the Alliance forces out at the end part, it could have escalated into a full-blown war between the two factions. And good luck defeating the Lich King then. And number 1 is... Come on, you guys should have expected that. I am the biggest Ner'zhul fanboy I know, after all. So yeah, number 1 is the climax of the Beyond the Dark Portal novel, the Battle of the Black Temple, and Ner'zhul's escape into the Twisting Nether. In my honest opinion, Ner'zhul is one of the greatest characters of Warcraft lore, and another example of the downfall of a classical villain. He started off as the religious leader of the orc people and the greatest shaman of his time, but Ner'zhul wanted more. As such, he proved to be easy pickings for Kil'jaeden. Ner'zhul, however, was unwilling to sacrifice his people for the sake of power and was quickly demoted by Gul'dan. Ner'zhul's character, similar to that of Medivh, could be considered as one of inner conflict between the side which only wished the best for his people and the side which wished for more power for himself. And every time the latter won, Ner'zhul lost in the end. In Beyond the Dark Portal, Ner'zhul is convinced by Teyrn Gorthian to lead the Horde once more, and is primarily concerned with saving them from the decaying Draenor. Once he comes in contact with the skull of Gul'dan, however, he slowly becomes more and more authoritative, and cares less and less about his people, though he doesn't realize that himself. At several points in the novel, we see the beginnings of him abandoning or sacrificing the orcs for his ends, and it reaches its climax at the Battle of the Black Temple. There, Ner'zhul succeeds in opening dimensional gateways of Draenor the way he saw to save his people, and as he is about to pass through, one of his followers yells at him, "Kill the Alliance and let us gather our people! You cannot possibly mean that only a few of us escape!" At which point Ner'zhul cold-heartedly strikes down the orc and proclaims, "The others are gone. I am the Horde and I will survive. Choose me or choose death," and passes through a dimensional gate along with a few of his followers. The Battle of the Black Temple as well also has several great moments for other characters. We see the determination of the Alliance leaders as they are willing to sacrifice their lives and not see Azeroth again in order to save their world. We also see a duel between Tirion and Teyrn Gorthian themselves, the very epitome of light versus shadow, which symbolism is also made very clear in the novel. So yeah, these are my top 13 lore moments. Leave any thoughts in the comments below, and I might do more of these lore-oriented top 10 or top whatever lists. And do not worry, it will not interfere with the production of lore facts or with other videos. These are just sort of fun little side things. So yeah, see all of you later, and have a good day everyone.